Hi, I'm Nick Del Bianco. I'm the co-founder of the Athlete Wellness Academy. We work with volleyball players across North America on two main things. First, keeping them healthy and playing on the court. We want to try and minimize as many of the non-contact injuries in volleyball as we can. And the second thing is helping them hit the ball harder. So I'm both a movement coach working with athletes in the weight room, as well as an arm swing coach working with athletes on the court, trying to get them hitting harder, more velocity, and more consistency out of their arm swings. The gym that I work at in Edmonton brought up, I believe his name was Brendan Marcello, who is a very big guy in the recovery industry from the States. And he was just kind of presenting all different modalities around recovery. And palm cooling was brought up as one of the more effective ways of reducing the heart rate and just in general recovering, especially for athletes, which was kind of what we were focused on. And the only downside with it was, and this is about maybe 5 years ago, their product that they referred to is just very big, very clunky, not very user-friendly, I would say. So we talked about it as like, this can be an effective way, but it was also like, but there's not really anything that is that good at doing it that is manageable. So then it's always in the back of my head of like, okay, like this is something that's important. This is something that could be easy for athletes to do. And then eventually I mentor under Austin Einhorn, just through his videos and through talking with him. He started obviously talking a lot about the Narwhals and palm cooling. And that was the first time I kind of connected, like, oh, like that presenter years ago was talking about this stuff. And now there's actually like a product on the market that looks like it is very user-friendly. So that's kind of where it all clicked for me. And then I tested it out a little bit for myself here in Edmonton at the gym. And then I consult with some universities, and one of the universities was in for purchasing a couple pairs for themselves so they could start using them with their volleyball players. Honestly, it makes so much sense in volleyball. In volleyball, there's timeouts, multiple timeouts every set, usually like 3 or 4 timeouts every set, where athletes come off the court, the coach talks to them, they have some downtime. Then there is times in between sets. So after set 1 is done, they switch sides, and then they have some downtime, a few minutes there as well. Then there's also positions. So middles and liberos switch on and off the court. So there's even volleyball players who only play in the front row, and then they come off while the libero goes in the back row. And so they have time off before they go back on the court. So there's so many times in volleyball when they can just hold on to the Narwhals and start the recovery process. They have enough time. There's good consistency. Like, it's just like the pauses and the positions in the sport just allow for it to be used very often in game. And then obviously practice is just again in sport. Like, there's some guys practicing, there's some guys on the side waiting to get into the drill. There's just lots of opportunity at those points as well. With the team that I purchased them for, I'm actually not there very often. I go on trips with them. I go and do like different times of the year. I'm with them for a few days at a time, but the athletes are in charge of it. And every time that I've been out there to work with the team so far this year, since they've had them, they have a really simple process. A couple guys, they have a mini fridge with a freezer in their locker room. That's where they store it. Before practice, they go fill up the water, put the packs in the Narwhals, go down to the court. And without any prompting from me, like, guys are just using them whenever there's a break in practice, whenever there's a water break, whenever the guys on the sideline, like, they're constantly being used. And for me, that was maybe like the best part of this, is with any kind of extra tool or recovery device that I've thought about using or that we have used in the past with different teams, just sometimes they're not used, and it turns into like, oh, like we bought this and it isn't being utilized to its full potential, where like these are used all the time without me having to tell the guys, hey, like, go and use them. Like, they're just using them nonstop. So that's the coolest part, is I'm not there, but I know they're being used. Every time I have been there, they're being used a ton. Like, and it's the athletes doing it. It's not like it needs like a coach or a therapist to like set it all up for them. It's just the athletes. It's so easy that the athletes can do it, and they like the results enough that they do it often. The coolest thing I think for me with the Narwhals is the athletes are using them in game to help with their thermoregulation so that they can continually perform at a high level in a long match and stay well in a long match. There's enough research on palm cooling, and you guys have done an awesome job at like providing lots of that and highlighting lots of it. So like I feel like it's makes sense that it works. So the next step is for the athletes to actually use them. And that's where I'm always a little bit cautious. Like I was saying before, with any kind of like tool or recovery device or anything like that, it's like, will the athletes actually use this? And they are. So that's huge. And I know from the research that it should be working. So pair those two things up, and I'm very happy with what's happening so far with the group.